me ask you something. When your leadership team walked in last Monday and announced the newest strategic initiative, did your people lean in with excitement? Or did you catch that look? You know the look, the one that says, "Oh, we're doing this again? Cool, 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 cool." If you caught the look, you are not imagining things. Your team is not being difficult. They are not resistant for the sake of resistance. They are tired. And not the kind of tired that a long weekend fixes. They are change fatigued. And if you keep layering initiative on top of initiative without recognizing that, you are going to lose them. Not all at once, quietly. One disengaged meeting at a time. So today, we are going to talk about what change fatigue actually looks like, why your well-intentioned transformation plan might be the thing tipping your team over, and how you lead through this moment without torching your credibility or your culture. Welcome to Unlock, Empower, Transform. I am your host, Shay Blackmon, founder and CEO of Shay Blackmon Consulting, author of High Value Leadership, and a DBA candidate in organizational leadership because apparently I like being busy. This is episode 70, and if the title pulled you in, something is already happening in your organization that you know needs attention. Maybe your team's engagement scores are slipping. Maybe people are smiling in the meeting and then sending you the "Can we talk?" Slack 10 minutes later. Maybe you are feeling it yourself, that low-grade dread when another email lands from the executive team with the words, "Exciting new direction." You are in the right place. Grab your coffee, your tea, your emotional support water bottle, whatever gets you through. Let us get into it. So let us define our terms because change fatigue gets thrown around like a buzzword, and that is part of the problem. If we cannot name it precisely, we cannot lead through it. Change fatigue is the cumulative exhaustion, cynicism, and disengagement that shows up in a workforce when the pace, volume, or perceived value of change exceeds what the team can absorb. Notice I said absorb, not handle. Your people can handle a lot. That is not the issue. The issue is whether they have had time to integrate one change before the next one lands on their desk. And here is the part most leaders miss. Change fatigue is not a feelings problem. It is a capacity problem. Human beings have a finite amount of cognitive, emotional, and operational bandwidth. Every change, even the good ones, draws down on that bandwidth. New systems, new reporting structures, new software, new priorities, new vendors, new DEI frameworks, new KPIs, new acronyms nobody asked for. Across my career in manufacturing, automotive, nonprofit, healthcare, quick service, and professional services, I have watched this pattern repeat itself. The industries are different. The workforces are different. The fatigue looks identical. Here is how to recognize change saturation in your organization. Watch for these signals. Meetings where nobody pushes back anymore and you think that is a win. It is not a win. It is surrender. A sudden uptick in, "I must have missed that email," when you know the email went out 3 times. Your high performers getting quiet, not quitting yet, just quiet. That is the pre-resignation stage, and you have about 90 days. Jokes in the hallway about the flavor of the month. That is not humor. That is grief with a punchline. Completion rates on training or rollouts that look fine on paper, but nothing is actually changing in behavior. If 2 or more of those are showing up in your organization, your team is not resisting change. Your team is out of runway. And the worst thing you can do in that moment is announce the next thing. Now, let us be honest about why this keeps happening, because I am not here to shame anybody. Most leaders who overload their teams are doing it for reasons that make sense on paper. You have a board asking for movement. You have investors asking for transformation. You have a market shifting underneath you and competitors making moves. You have an executive team that came back from a conference with new energy and a slide deck that is about to become your entire Q3. And somewhere in the middle of all of that, you forgot to ask the one question that matters. Can my people actually carry this right now? There was a manufacturing company, for example, that in a single calendar year launched a new ERP system, a safety culture initiative, a DEI rollout, a new performance management platform, and a leadership development program. All of it was good work. All of it was strategically sound, and all of it was dead in the water by month 8 because nothing was sequenced. Every initiative got 30% of the attention it needed because the team was being asked to split themselves 6 ways. There was a healthcare organization in the same position. Different industry, same story. Change after change layered on a workforce that was already running on fumes from the pandemic years. By the time leadership noticed the turnover spike, the exit interviews were telling one consistent story. It was never too much work. It was too much change, too fast, with no pause in between. Here is the uncomfortable truth. Change fatigue is not caused by change. It is caused by a leadership failure to sequence, to prioritize, and to protect the team's capacity to execute. We write strategic plans. We rarely write strategic plans that answer the question, what are we going to stop doing, pause, or slow down to make room for this? In high value leadership, I talk about stewardship of culture as one of the 5 pillars. Stewardship is the recognition that your culture is a living asset. You can deposit into it and you can withdraw from it. Every unmanaged change is a withdrawal, and at some point, the account hits 0. That is what change fatigue is, an overdrawn culture account. So, how do you actually do this differently? Let us talk about strategic sequencing, because this is where leadership gets earned. Strategic sequencing is the deliberate ordering, spacing, and prioritization of transformation efforts so that each one has a fair shot at landing before the next one begins. It is the difference between throwing everything at the wall and building something that actually stands up over time. Here is what strategic sequencing requires from you as a leader. 1. A capacity audit before every new initiative. Before you greenlight anything new, inventory what is already in flight, not what is on the strategic plan from January, what is actually happening in the trenches right now. Who is touching what? What teams are already carrying 2 major rollouts? What managers are running point on 3 things at once? If you do not know the answer, you are not ready to add anything. 2. A ruthless prioritization framework. Not everything is urgent. Not everything is strategic. Not everything that feels exciting to the executive team is worth the disruption to the front line. Your job is to decide what is load-bearing and what is decoration. Load-bearing initiatives get resourced, sequenced, and protected. Decoration gets parked. And yes, that means telling some of your peers no. Welcome to leadership. 3. A visible timeline. Your people need to see the runway. When they can see that Initiative A wraps in March, Initiative B starts in April with a 2-week onboarding window, and Initiative C is not landing until fall, their nervous systems can settle. Ambiguity is exhausting. Sequence is calming. Even when the work is hard, knowing the shape of the work is a gift. 4. Built-in integration windows. This is the one most leaders skip. Between initiatives, you need dedicated time where nothing new launches. 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever your team's rhythm supports. Use that time to let new behaviors consolidate, new processes stabilize, and new muscle memory form. If you skip the integration window, you did not implement change. You just announced it. 5. A stop doing list. If you are adding, you should be subtracting. Every time you bring in something new, something else should be retired, automated, consolidated, or released. Your team's plate is not infinite. Stop treating it like it is. I will tell you, in my current HR role in manufacturing, this kind of sequencing discipline is exactly what separates workforce plans that deliver from workforce plans that live in a binder. The plan is never the hard part. The discipline to sequence is the hard part. Now, I can already hear some of you. Shay, if I give my team a break, we are going to lose momentum. The moment we stop pushing, everything stalls. I hear you, and I am going to push back gently. What you are describing is not momentum. That is adrenaline, and adrenaline is not a strategy. It is a short-term performance-enhancing drug that your organization will pay for with turnover, quality issues, and quiet quitting. Real momentum is different. Real momentum is built on three things: clarity of direction, confidence in execution, and a pace the team can actually sustain. When those three things are aligned, you do not need to push. The work pulls itself forward. Recovery time, done right, does not kill momentum, it protects it. Here is how you build recovery into your rhythm without losing your edge. Stagger launches across teams. If sales is deep in a transformation, operations gets a lighter quarter. Rotate the load. Celebrate integration, not just initiation. Most organizations throw the party at the kickoff. The party should be when the thing actually works. That reframes success in the team's mind. Build in what I call boring quarters. Not every quarter needs to be transformational. Some quarters are for execution, reinforcement, and getting really good at what you already started. Protect one-on-ones and manage your bandwidth. When managers are drowning, their teams are drowning. Your middle layer is your shock absorber. Keep it functional. Normalize rest as strategy, not reward. Your people should not have to earn the right to breathe. Make recovery part of the operating model, not the prize at the end of the race. The Detroit Lions, yes, I am going to bring the Lions in. I am from Detroit, let me have this. Did not transform by practicing harder every single day. They transformed by building a culture where grit and recovery coexisted. That is the model. Intensity on the snap, breathing room between the plays. That is how you build a team that can go the distance. All right, let us make this practical. I want you to do this with me. Grab something to write with, a notebook, a notes app, the back of a meeting agenda, I do not care. This takes 4 minutes and it is going to tell you more about your team's capacity than any engagement survey ever will. This is what I call the change saturation scan. 5 quick prompts. Prompt 1. List every active change initiative your team is currently touching. Not the ones that are finished, not the ones you want to launch, the ones that are live right now. Process changes, system changes, organizational changes, cultural changes, reporting changes. Write them all down. Prompt 2. Next to each one, write a number from 1 to 5. 1 means the team is cruising through it. 5 means the team is drowning in it. Be honest, not aspirational, honest. Prompt 3. Add up your numbers. If your total is over 15, your team is saturated. If it is over 20, you are in the red zone and you need to pause, reprioritize, and protect before you do anything else. Prompt 4. Look at your list one more time. Circle anything that could reasonably be paused, consolidated, or killed without material business impact in the next 90 days. If nothing can be touched, that is a different leadership conversation, and it is one you should have this week. Prompt 5. Identify one integration window you will protect in the next 60 days. Put it on the calendar. Tell your team. Tell your peers. Make it real. Because intention without a calendar entry is just a wish. That scan, done quarterly, will give you more strategic insight into your organization's true capacity than any dashboard. I use a version of this in my own transformation work, and I can tell you, the leaders who run it consistently make better calls, every single time. Before I close, let me bring this home to something personal, because leading through change fatigue is not just an organizational skill. It is a personal resilience skill, especially for the professional women listening who are carrying the transformation weight of entire organizations while navigating their own careers, households, and everything else. You cannot lead a team through change saturation if you are saturated yourself. And that is exactly why I created the Shield Resilience Strategy Guide. SHIELD stands for self-awareness, healthy coping, internal resources, external support, learning orientation, and daily practices. Inside the guide, there are tools built for exactly this kind of season. The trigger log for recognizing the patterns that are draining you before they derail you. The strategic pause technique for when you are in the middle of a hard conversation and need to reset. The after-action review process for extracting real learning from the initiatives that did not land. And the daily practices that keep your own tank from hitting empty while you are leading everybody else's. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot sequence an organization's change when your own nervous system is in free fall. The guide is free. The link is in the show notes. Go get it. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. Change fatigue is not weakness. It is data. It is your team telling you in the only language they have left that the math is not working. And your job as a leader is not to push harder. It is to listen, to sequence, to protect capacity, and to build the kind of culture where transformation is sustainable, not sacrificial. If this episode resonated, do 3 things for me. First, drop a comment and tell me, what is the initiative in your organization right now that everybody is pretending to care about, but nobody actually has the bandwidth to execute? I want to hear it. The honest answer, not the one you would put in the board deck. Second, download the Shield Resilience Strategy Guide. Link is in the show notes. It is free. It is practical, and it will give you language and tools for navigating exactly what we talked about today. Third, if what we are building on this podcast is speaking to where you are leading from, my book, High Value Leadership, goes deeper into the 5 pillars, the stewardship of culture, and the frameworks that make sustainable transformation possible. And enrollment is opening soon for the High Value Leadership Intensive, which is where we take all of this from theory into your actual organization. Waitlist link is in the show notes as well. On Thursday, we are going to talk about something that is directly connected to everything we discussed today. Episode 71 is the Retention ROI, calculating the true cost of turnover. Because when change fatigue goes unaddressed, your best people leave, and the number attached to that exit is almost always bigger than leaders realize. You will not want to miss it. Until then, lead your team like the asset they are. Sequence the work, protect the capacity, build the culture worth staying for. This is Shay Blackmon. Unlock, empower, transform.